ni bungin bane ni jiri ina jok kela bele gitudo ni marwi jur pota po per koro jore ipota po per nut mari ke bijura nya ipota po per mana jeng lang madan mo kolor lumina lum ko giano tawo jeje po cenji jok kela bele chunyo ke per jeng manda jeng operat bena man nut bon ngom beren chunyo po ke per ginato ingong maro ta mana che mana tewni cho mo kala tunure ingom kargi ko terpere ke pede bicara mana ko na beru ni nyeye kwari gana debote ni bo mu jor mu pilo ko di jot e par mana berde ke ni chunyu dia ciel ta man generation man o ko ni ju job bu ngi dete jiri e wo moy ciel e par wo nyana te jeseral ka beru ke bete bu jor ba ngom gena ay ki bete malat bagina ber ke per na mi beru ke geni community mo tak ngi chutte a chogju mo tak ngi chutte gena moy gi lebi mi ko kere ke per malat ni budu ina jok ina tiyo gen mo do gena ay ki chara mo tak di chay generation manatin gena gud mo pa chanti mo pergelat ati mal ke jurmana ko jurmaro to no pat juren da cha ina jok ina to kiti joda jore ka karata mana winyo kan kawana generation manatin ina to mo duang inga jeni protio mo kala mana ko jok ngena ko penye yini ke perbu jurmaro bena manne por ko wen kurana yebe ngate manno paye gi jok non kere ki ne bere no mutto man bedo no wara bedo na ciel ki mera kan mu ci yodote ye da mu ci mo perkelet mu yi ci mo ju ngat ju be kala man bi ci da le gëru na ciel be tire na cianam ji lam ñama debit na te metti mu ñëri man be ni me ki ci na ciel gëna ko le bele ba lan ci wa ina jok yiti ko ra ciara mari ngati man no ina wonen kaj be wonen na jengi kur ma tayte ngojo ne jog be ina ti jabjo ko ñu mani kel mo no do pacc ne ko mano tayde ngene moy ne do ciado ko pero jur marwa ne ngati man ndere ne peñe kara mala chan ni miya ñere ne man ne jiw be no ro ne ko gari ne jurre ñeto goto e par man to na tete to ne bung bayina joga bo doge pota po fena jog marwa ne bu jura ma kon ngom ti ni ko la cara mari bum certa mo wonye mana man ni man ni ma ne bu jur boro de tele bayina joga bo don kor gina let da wi ni nga jappi ginu ko tir ko to juri mo poro ne wo waya di sawa ye tiyo gin mo kala ngi jibe po cindi jog Allah mo no ko taro ni ngama bon ngombre mo jog ci ñekel ka cara cel ke per responsibility ka accountability di ko ro ban ngati manno e bena manni nutte la mo to per jira recel ne beddi ni kaw na mo jo en ko ka cel ke per to maranya ne beddi ni ginut ne gitikit ke per bege di on kal responsibility ka accountability ka man tik mu jira nyaade ci mu batete la mo to ko per ci ju jigi responsibility o perlet bore be gor ko giano to ko ni ko bore na bang la dara no ni dina ngandi boro wala winni kel muna cum bi jur mo ra cara jur mu jala ji mo to bakka penda pi bore po po ina jongo ber la wona bi jono kel na jengi bodo ni mera be ni ngori bi ci ngara me chor pen per ay mo ana no
o chal de wojwa ji sobe kwara kan ma rona we ko puj ma prelet ma chana ka perman ya pek nen chunyo ka perne che woji jwa perne to ne be jwa no ko nyani ke gene no kalgo ka chunyo ki o pek che ten ka to ki o bodo be do ne wujuru chubu go cher jwa te po ya chana ka per ber mara wa nya nya man ko na ji mo be yo kara ona ji mo be yo namo cara chino ber maro gin jodi ke go ke de chei abi mo ji mo na ko ni o to twina ne ber te per namo da no be ber ke jam ngata che chon ke kor tiere be nyoni nya pula chela kone nya matu puni ga na yara goko aku mata budgal nya na jaw abu mo budgi amati ra chabo aku matu ra chabo achingi mara chabo nuna manya kin mor mara na cho bala beta mo kama ko nanu ma kin beta no no lum ke ko na chama beta no ko ge na ga mori cham ngot beta nya cha na beta nyai ba cho ko amati ra chabo po ne margara der maro dut gara po nyal ko bakara bam yal ke tut mara gara ko wala ke yal ke po ya sabo wala ka ena ni ko ya Amerika kanya gina ngati tem tut jak mo ya na gina ngati maya to gina ngati maya ma cha ti yo para tut masai mo ko kun atira go ku ana ko met to o pa di mo be o dar gin ngan maro ko putu na kara maro be ber jiso kristo be ko ro o be yo kara jo te per dana mo chuy raj chuy de ke joy mo wa Amerika kan nya pokuru Amerika joy ya susi ne ko nya pi pon wa na ya jurre mo an ka che wa ne ro ma woni ne jur ke joy an ai pe ke janya ba ke de na nywa ne ke jota jit joge de ke janya ba de ke janya oni o pe yo jiso kwaro kware oni o pe yo de kre uchumo ka chobo po joda bangi chukar po joda bangi gin mo mara mo taw mo ro chilo go kre bungo rago mo chumo no na oni a bigale na ka Amerika da chela na penya ko ro yo go ya right da ma de chwa ana ko ti di ina mo wo ngata ti yo kir penyo ko ro bigale ro ro gale to wi pori to ko pata ngani ti pori ke perché ko kara ke ne ko ge na ngi utiere ngi otati pupi kan ma de chana di ma ni ting ke ko ni uno man ting o ti uting ko tati bo mo ngon pe ko bo ka big tum to wal bam nyoro ji so kwaro o ko to no cha ka ko ni bre ano be mara no pudu che ka mana ga chana ke per ona ti mo pe yo jok bu ji o to juan nga da ma de choro bere juan no da wa ari ke mun no re ba mo ko ti tum no choro pe ko kunna bor ma ya joka kele che rangi to ke pe ke nyang chi so ka to ke pe ke per jok bu ji ona woni ona mo jok ye chuan mal ke pe ji so so be paro o pe yo de jok de po yo ko en ke per mana fu nyoni ke pu ru mana ko man ko na ji mu chu nyoni chu bo pe ke chu nyoni len che pe pare ke chu nyoba dan ke che pe dut kala ke o do mial ke ko jok paro o do mial ko kurutio o do chil ke jap ke ba jap ge no wet ja kamar ke per o pu pe yo cho ka to o pero na chel ke per ngan o pero ki ni chon na man re ki ke de to go roko ber kan mor ana chana mu to pui be go ani ke ka en ye be jen pe pe ganyan a chela ria do inu gwetu ki muy mari o metro ki koreno a diti kwa ri bongo lokala ke jam gena wo na eno do la o ba ko mi wa wo chara kono mo ke cha ne go kono ke ni ka che chera adi choro to ben ko mi wo re ke nya juta ana ko ba ko pi juto ni chena no kutu ke ni dur mo te nya re ngapa ke ka ke pada ke choro
registration nechani registration man mo bulen chalo botel
ber bote mo yuti ki chawdi da ke ji kan ki gora nyen jopen lañ man chawdi da ke jow ne ñi ngi ne goru pen
Berangkat kembali bukan main. Dia punya.
ber jok popo no gna wo kore chana ne bukit kan mo barket kan mor be tut man no ge mal ke gone kore ne go ge ban mutra kan ne ge chungi wo chana pam ne ki ati ti tu kan mor tio ya kore chetu ke tut oje am ken am da na man chetti le ba che man ken chuya che pe ya kare chal tut no ye go ke mal ke go kore kin che ke jo je kan ne kan do na
Oh, itu aku bayar. Cuma ni itu ni pun. Pada oh, ni mereka beri. Microphone wani kereti lekol. Pecak orang pecak. Luchar.
Anggota ini dah cai berana. Hari mana? Ini berana. Ada je ini berana. Kapan mari kaya? Pola tajo. Sekarang dia berubah dalam petite. Pada anggota ini dah cai berana. Tinggal apa yang berjuang. Anggota ini dah cai berana. Kapan mari kaya? Pola tajo. Kirkiulen mutayo, pabijo man kerajwa kokoyo, no pabijo, wejo kayo, pada kino kayo, topo kapere, keragaya jodo wariyo, kirkiulen mutayo, pabijo
Jiso Kristo be kwara. Jiso be nye ya. Jowur du di John Power kalage. Ken wuto ko chungwa na to. Da kan na. Nguto di de bare kare ja ko duto nyari wo. Jiso Kristo be nye ya. Shiri mo piyo ya ka chia bo woro kini wito kulping no olu to no bangia ti gio jon no de ke per ta no ko to to mana mo tiji muli mo kue mana tiji muli mo yoto kue ke per vie choping mana to ni chir pang ke chiri yow vie te man ko re ji tung ni no jire ji ma o di chara jire ni na chela chelo mo ko re ti tu ni jete mo ko jo mo ti re ko mo ko jo mo fo ke ko taw awa ni taw wito beto man no ne to ti bin ke ni na chela chelo ko bare ko na bare an mo mal ke tro dina o mal ke pere tierda agura mara ko una le ya no ballamo we ngome wa ka ja ke ko ni de we ngomi magalo to ka blam ni ngo di so be ko ro o mal ke tro de ngom ko wa hen ngwe ni wara bi ngom de ngwe ngom kre ngem ngom kre ke per ngom to ya do ke ginu chan para tru kare a chana to la wa kare ke ba ko lo ka ko tumudi ginu chan apole buta apoko luo pokae tiere da di so be ni ya gana la bi do ke ja chiela ria do uno gwiet woke mu maro med woke uno ka power ma tiang wala kal ni bere ulo po ba ga batu ba kina ti do ginna der kan mari chero no kaya redo tum ka che chena mana no don ka che chena no dudin mana rio nen korpwech alu tum na be mo ai ya chola jigi kore pin ka che chena mana no don no kan morbe chipo mena kul kere ru ma chan wa kale kan na ko ni youtube channel to pidi ni ngi gorge goro
ala ni chado je
oh una la pego via look to illa mate chana kala cherde poi akala kere jo ma kore chena manu don jelde chipo anyi chana dut ne dama de to ki gino go ne choko ne jumwa o kuto ko ki gino ne choko ne tich ne di chio met kore gina en chengon ne kon wugo lañ ka man ci wugo pinkan deggen mo yoji ma lañ man pepe pin wala ngi di bungo abu du ka le nga pul ya
ya
ne da mena chwa ne ro
ya
arono mi ro mni ke diri kri pa kale
kaja dara pang libur ya karena kemudian ijo maci bogi ya gue ikannya bot juga be ya urma ya penyon bere per ne ceng ne kit kacel ke per cengin korno jeda maci po koreno marwa ko ne dengan mamare kere cu me karo la iman kel koni ba nan budu cipo kucing cipo ket
Jono kreno abia ate un krea ni ke chobo ke po ra me nga bich chobo ben ka je le binda mo ko ga mi mu ba the mau chek le ka de ya ke chia ko da put kiti ne ba
dedicated their life in advocating for the rights, exposing abuses that would otherwise exist. Here today, among us, there are two individuals I would like to recognize and also invite to provide remarks on their work and how they have been advocating for the rights of each and every human. Mrs. Jill Anderson is a person that has dedicated her life in making sure a story such as ours are heard. Alongside with Jill Anderson, we also have Mr. Abdul Sheikh, the same way who dedicated his life in making sure human rights abuses are exposed, starting from Somalia and across East and Eastern Africa. Please let's put our hands together as I invite Mrs. Jill Anderson to offer few remarks regarding December 13th.
Dare shoot? That's about all I know. So, sorry about that. I've known you, and there are a lot of new faces here, but I've known you since 1997. So that is a very long time, but there's some new people here, so I'll give a quick summary of how I got involved. I said hello to one of the guys in my church, and I gave him my phone number. Why? It's probably because I'm here today, 27 years later, that God had some intention, and I want to go through that a little bit. And after getting to know some of you and your families, you started wanting a church in your own language. And so that's when I said, well, sure, I'm a former social worker, so you use resources. You say, well, yeah, I can talk to this person, to talk to this person. And so I went to our pastor and asked to start an Aniwak church. He said, sure, but we need someone to be there to organize it. And I said, well, I'm way too busy, but I know the perfect people. Every one of them said no, so guess what? So here I am. And it was a wonderful journey. We got a lot of kids, and you've heard this before, but not everyone knows to Trout Lake Camp and other things. And then in 2003, I started getting calls from people and about things that were going on. The disarmament of the Aniwak, the arrest of a lot of people. And then it was December 13th through 15th. And anyway, it was at that time I started getting involved in the human rights part of it. And that led to a lot of places. Our church, Calvary, had some money in the budget, and come January, I met Obeng Meto, and the cousin of Martha, and we had some money in the budget to send some people. And Greg Stanton, when he gets on, he'll say this, but there was a group that went of 3 people, Obeng Opiocham and Keith Snow, who did an investigation for Genocide Watch. And because there's a little money, we were able to send them. And it was very current, so the information was available to interview witnesses and survivors of the genocide in Pochala, where they were in a World Relief refugee camp. And that led to a lot of other things, and I ended up working with the Aniwak Justice Council, and that's where Obeng was in the executive director of that. And it involved a lot of things, a lot of reporting, and there were a lot of nights where I'd be up late because we would get information and we would, write reports and that sort of thing, and that continued on, and a lot of different things over many years. Anyway, when we also got involved in some retreats, and that's for healing and reconciliation. Because, as I hear some of these stories today, there is trauma everywhere. And it seems like Jesus is the answer for that. And so, I can say more about that. But anyway, there are some things and ideas to do now, including getting the Word of God to people. But Isaiah 18, you maybe are familiar with it. And you know that there's woe at the beginning of that chapter. And that woe, as I was reading a report from one of the reports and kind of preparing for tonight, I was reading some of the stories, and it brought me to tears because the suffering was so great. And yet God delivered people in miraculous ways, but not everyone. And then it went on from that to how many more years? That was 2003. It really didn't end until the wells were dry and there was no oil found. And I think that's a God thing because we know there's oil there. And and then they went to Somalia and to the Ogaden area and started doing the same things that they did to the Anuak. And that's when, as an organization, we stood up for them. Because wherever it happens, these are people created in the image of God, and they are of value and have dignity, and we need to stand up. And it was kind of then when we decided that justice is not going to come only to the Anuak. The Anuak were endangered at the time through cultural survival, had articles on the concern that this is an endangered ethnic group. Small, 150,000 people worldwide at the time. And so we have to care. Not only does God care about us, and one of the principles was humanity before ethnicity or any other difference, because we are all created in the image of God. But the other principle was no one is free until all are free, meaning that we have to care about the freedom of our neighbors. We can't only care about ourselves. There are no tribes in heaven other than the tribe of Jesus, the family of Jesus. And so we have to care and reach out in those ways. And that has gone on. But the chapter in Isaiah 18, I think the question is, at the beginning, there is woe. There is suffering. It's terrible. And there's something, you're supposed to go with some kind of message. They said, go swift messengers to this place. And it describes people, just like you guys. And by the way, there's competition for that. And that's a whole nother subject. Is it Anuak? Is it someone else? And everyone, yeah, there might be some competition, and that's not going to go over. But anyway, woe is what is happening to the people. And as I listen today and I hear the translation, you're telling stories. Some of them I've heard, but a lot of them I have not heard. And how people were really, it was a horrible, traumatizing kind of an event that continued on for all of those years. And then after that were the land grabs, when they said, okay, you come on over here, we'll give you a lot of services. And instead, people were left under trees and with no services. Many people are in refugee camps, even today, all over the place. And so there were the land grabs and there were human rights problems there, but we all know, and you talked about it earlier, this land that has been given to you only by God has so many resources that everyone wants these resources. But the best resource that we can have for eternity is Jesus. And so by the end of Isaiah 18, no longer is this woe to the people. Instead, they are bringing gifts, offerings to God on his holy mountain. I want to know what happens, what goes on from the beginning to the end to transform these people. So they are able to bring gifts from the hearts and their souls to God, and God accepts their offering. Now we know he doesn't accept offerings when it's not from the heart, or when there's competition or selfish, or you're trying to get first. But when it's sincere, then we know that those are offerings that mark a transformation that happened in the people. I'm going to do a sideways thing, or kind of something that talks about you. None of you know this about me. Okay. So I'd like to share a little bit about myself, and maybe why God has used some trauma and some loss and some woe in my own family from a couple of generations ago that continue to shape me. So this is even for the kids and the young ones who've never seen it. But I'm going to read something because my uncle was in World War II, and he was on a ship that was going to one of the bloodiest, worst battles in all of World War II of the Marines, and it was in Tarawa. It was an island off Japan, and there was an airstrip there, and they were supposed to go there and stop some of that. And so but let me just back up just a little bit. My uncle, his name was Walter, he liked Wally, and my mother's family were from Sweden. Her parents came over from Sweden, and guess what they wanted? They wanted a service in their own language, so they went to a Swedish service so they could understand. And so my grandma kind of rebelled, but she knew the truth. But my uncle, who was like in his 20s, mid-20s, he started going to this church and bringing along my grandma and my mom. Okay, so anyway, he became a devout believer somewhere in that time. Now, about a year ago, I was looking for a book, and I have loads of books, and all of a sudden I came across this book. It says, Faith That Works. Okay? I've had it probably for 30 years. I think I read it a long time ago. But I opened it up, and here is a story from a ship in a Bible study of young men on their way to Tarawa, the island where my uncle was going to. Okay, during the days of World War II, Chaplain Wyeth Willard conducted a Bible class and prayer meeting on board a ship headed toward Tarawa. About 15 dedicated Christian boys attended. On the night before they hit the beach, they had a circle of prayer. Every one of the boys prayed something like this: Lord, tomorrow we are going to storm the beaches of Tarawa. Our officers have told us that it is going to be a bloody battle. Many of our number will be killed. If this has to be, Lord, let us who know you be killed, and spare those who do not know you, so they have more time to make their decision for thee. In Jesus' name, amen. The next day, my uncle was killed. And they didn't get word right away, but he was killed at Tarawa. And no one ever saw him. This was before I was born. But my point is, the reaction of my family to this loss has shaped my family in a way that continues to make a difference in the next generations, even with my grandchildren. And in fact, I have a letter. I have a letter from the church, because this is from 1944, okay? And it's to my grandparents. And they said, I'm just going to do just a piece of it. In the midst of sorrow and trials, we thank God for his wonderful mercy and guidance. The homegoing of Walter meant a call to deeper consecration, commitment for all of us, and to the salvation of precious souls. We are so happy over the step that your son Frank and his wife have taken, as well as Jean, my mother, and John and you, Brother Young, my grandfather, in accepting Christ as your Savior. It means satisfying life here and hereafter to trust in him. His loss has made such a difference, and I think if he hadn't lost his life, I might not be here. I don't know what would I be like. I don't know. But this influence that you can have on this next generation, you've had woe. But what brings the change, the transformation of a community and of something maybe greater than that? And that's what I challenge you to think about. I mean, what my granddaughter, who was 12, she was sleeping over, she was supposed to be sleeping. She comes upstairs and she says, "Grandma, what are you most afraid of?" And I said, the thing that I'm most afraid of is if all my children don't go to heaven. I want all my children and my grandchildren to go to heaven. And once you do that with your family, then who? I mean, I consider you guys my family. I feel so close. I have been so involved in this with you. And this is about God setting something up, and it has been a blessing. And so anyway, how can this experience that has been so difficult shape the future, and not only change it for your family or your community, but how do you become, so if you're bringing gifts to God's holy mountain, what's the larger family? South Sudan? Ethiopia? Who there needs to hear about the Lord? Who there? And that's the forgiveness too. That's tough. It's tough. But yet, how can you bring others so that together you're bringing people to the glory of God? It says in James, "Blessed is the man who perseveres under trial, because when he has stood the test, he will receive the crown of life that God has promised to those who love him." So I encourage all of you, to bring those gifts, which would be your hearts, but also the gift of giving to other people so that there can be, they can go to heaven to be with the Lord, where the gold in your country is not going to matter because you're the breadbasket. That's an earthly thing, but in heaven, this is where we need to help to go ourselves and help others to go. And so I'm going to stop there. One thing I would add is that we are trying to raise some money, okay, for Talking Bibles for Kalabie and Kakuma camp, and we've recently had some retreats there, healing retreats, where the Nuer and the Anuak now are having what somewhat a Nuer man said was sweet peace. And, we're also trying to raise some money for South Sudan for 100 Talking Bibles. They're $50 a piece. Because there's a program in Tanzania where they have a Talking Bible in every classroom. In every school, a couple of them, and they have trained teachers to use it in the schools. So think of the possibility of that in South Sudan or Gambella. Gambella is going to be receiving 200 Talking Bibles in the near future. And so I can't imagine what I would be like if I didn't have a Bible. And I can't imagine having a Bible without being able to know what it said. And so I just encourage everyone here, to be praying for that. And also, to just praise God that what Satan intended for evil, which was evil, that God can use for good, for his glory. Thank you.
Round of applause one more time. Ber kia ni jil po kapar chama chibe kapar at December 13 natume ye wino bangom effort maro kapar guru manyo kapar de toni manyan gona tuene otio kuji mbok matete ya ngadwang mor akone adong ye chanda mudwang dot kra kora ni jitika argreki begin mo berdot kora ngudi akone jana ngemi ka argreki ba argreki ni ngai achang tu uche kitu mo ten ke chandong ye kora ke chantu de tiate de chop kene che kora tantu no argreki kautu ne jana it kete argreki kalawat kau pie e kanak punggati ye kete ye argreki charo maka ko ni di effort mo challenge dang ye bamanya ko kaparna to we are always willing to extend our hands and share our stories. The next person I'm going to bring is Dr. Greg Santon, after which I will invite Brother Abdullah Sheikh. Now, if you go on your phone, on your computer, and write Anuak genocide, the computer will generate these events. Yang Anuak itu ada ye kacili kegerak kategori ye. Mana kategori ada kuang. But bapar mana menjadi amrobi tinggi cibo. There are people who made sure that our voices, our suffering was also heard and can be accessed online. Therefore, Dr. Greg Santon, the founding president of Genocide Watch, also played a role in making sure Anuak genocide is also heard. Wang Cheng, Nyalal Mari, Matarik man kue lan man mo encourage Google either ChatGPT, internet, Google, and not inside Google, you will have access to it. Kapar mana gono manyawang na man jida murabi egichibo kapar dunya mara legin mujuri juga rai mo yeah manyawang na not only we are always thankful and grateful to people like Jill Sheikh and Abdullah Sheikh and also Dr. Greg. Dr. Greg is not joining us personally, but we will bring him on through Zoom. We are working on that right now, and he should be able to join us. Okay. Well, in the meantime, I'm going to play a gospel song. This gospel song talks about what God has done for each and every one of us and the challenges that we have overcome through His interference in our life. Ben, Dr. Gray, can you hear me? Thank you, sir. You're very welcome. Before I brought you on, I was reading an open letter to the office of the Prime Minister, and this open letter talks about justice and accountability. Before we move into these questions, however, I would like you to introduce yourself to the audiences and what kind of work that you do.
So, shall I begin?
Yes, sir.
Oh, thank you very much. Well, it's a great honor to be with you today. Even though I can't be with you physically, I'm certainly with you there in spirit. I've been with you for many years, in fact, because I was there on the night of the genocide. That is, I had a call from, one of your members who is very well known to you. He was all the way up in Canada at the time. But he called me on December the 13th, 2003, and said there was a massacre in Gunvilla and that it was continuing. And I never will forget it because he said he called the State Department, he called Amnesty, he called Human Rights Watch. No one was able to really respond. And he asked if we could do that. And I said, well, that's what we're here for. That's why Genocide Watch is here. So he gave me a few names of people that I could call there to corroborate the facts that he was telling me, and I did. I called up the governor, who was, as you know, Anuak himself, and had to flee actually that night. But he told me that what was told to me was true, and I also called a couple other people that he given me the names and numbers for. So I immediately called the desk officer at the State Department, Mr. Gonzalez, and said, "Have you known that this was happening?" He said, "No, he didn't. It was in the middle of the night here." And I said, "Well, I've gotten very clear evidence that it is happening. It is happening. And so I would be very grateful if you could get our ambassador to intervene here. You basically walk into Mr. Mellich's office and tell him to stop it." Well, we had a very unusually good ambassador at that time, Oriela Braziel, and she is one of those ambassadors who's willing to really step outside the box, who's not just a bureaucrat. And so she did walk into Mellich's office and tell him to stop it. And in fact, it was largely stopped that night, but it didn't stop completely because the massacre continued in the areas around Gunvilla. As you know, many people fled. Many people left, went into Sudan, in fact, to flee to Fochala and to other places. And our interest in that terrible, terrible massacre, that genocide, continued. And we sent in teams to investigate that a couple times, wrote several reports about it. And of course, the State Department continued to be very, very concerned about the situation there. What has happened since, of course, has been an increasing awareness of frankly, the evil of the Meles regime. And eventually, as you well know, Meles was overthrown, and the Tigrayan regime was overthrown. But that wasn't the end of it, as you know, unfortunately. Ethiopia is still suffering. It's still a country that is divided by ethnicity, divided by tribe, if you will, that has never found the kind of unity that it needs to have if it's going to survive as a nation. So I'm very concerned, of course, about Israel. I mean, about Israel too, but about Ethiopia. And you have talked about the need for justice and accountability, and that is essential. If you're going to have healing in a country, you have to have justice. And unfortunately, there has not been that kind of justice in Ethiopia so far. It's very sad that there has not been. But those people who have committed these crimes have never been held accountable for them. And it hasn't just been, of course, the Tigrayan regime. It was later other governments that have perpetrated genocides, have encouraged genocides. I think there's a special role for you who are in the diaspora to provide guidance to people in Ethiopia to bring about creation of the institutions of justice and of accountability. We haven't had it yet, and I know from having worked on other genocides how important it is. I was just in Rwanda just a few weeks ago, and there they have had very major accountability for the genocide that occurred there in 1994. not only did we create an international tribunal, as you know, I wrote the UN resolution that did that, that created it, but also the government in Rwanda held over 100,000 trials, gotcha trials, as they called them. They're trials that don't use some kind of formal European-style justice system, but instead are very much organized in an African way, in a way that is very much in harmony with Rwandan culture. And I think, frankly, that those trials are better than the trials that we have here in the United States, because they not only provide for ways that people can know the facts, in which people can, in fact, be found guilty and sentenced, but also in which the sentences are largely service to those who are the victims. A convicted person in that genocide is obligated usually to provide service to the family that he massacred, and it's a life sentence. So in some ways, though, that has then resulted in reconciliation. It's been remarkable. I think it's partly because I believe Africans are more spiritually aware of each other and of the fact that our universe has been created by God, not just by some kind of abstract force, but by a very personal force. And I think it's because Africans understand that better than, frankly, Europeans do, and Americans, that process of genocide, genocide justice in Rwanda has been so successful. So I'm hoping that something like that can occur in Ethiopia, which was, after all, the first Christian country in Africa, and is still a Christian country, and it's a country where the teachings of Jesus are still very strong. So I hope that Ethiopia will find ways to have accountability, will find ways to have justice, and I think you have a very special role in that process, because you who are in the diaspora here in the United States have had the opportunity to recover and to also often be educated in a university setting in many cases. But you have that kind of perspective that would allow you then to provide the kind of advice that the new Ethiopia will need to build a country that is really just. The first step is Ethiopia has to overcome this kind of ethnic hatred. And of course, that is fundamental to the teachings of Jesus. So that is why I think, in fact, right in Acts of the Apostles, one of the people that the Apostle Paul meets as he is traveling, preaching the gospel, is an Ethiopian. One of those first Christians who was ever converted to the gospel, and who then went back to Ethiopia and brought that with him. So you are a part of a great cloud of witnesses, as the book of Hebrews says. You are part of this huge, huge ongoing cloud of witnesses that has brought the teachings of Jesus around the world, particularly to Ethiopia. And I'm so happy to be with you again, to celebrate that. So as we think about justice, let's also think about the fact that you have a special role in bringing that justice about. As you know, we continue at Genocide Watch to monitor the situation in Ethiopia and to particularly have concern about people in Gambela province and about the Anyuwa people because of the victimization that you have suffered. A victimization that was not just brought about, of course, by the Meles regime, but has started long before that. I am just really happy to be part of you again here tonight. I feel very much spiritually united with you. I personally know that there is only one race, the human race. We are all part of that same human race. And that is why, for me, to be with you tonight is especially meaningful. It's especially touching my heart. I thank you for inviting me to be with you tonight. And I pray for the future of all of you and the future of Gambela province, of the Anuak people, and of all of Ethiopia.
Thank you so much, Dr. Greg. We appreciate your presence. But before we let you go, I would like to ask the audience, should anyone have a question to you, and then move on from there. I will give two people a chance to ask questions. All right.
Please say them loudly so I can hear.
All right. This is Gilo Agua. I'm one of the pastors here. In John Mortinim Jacalo can see a native and I'm one of the pastors serving among the Anuak people here. First of all, I would like to thank you. Thank you for what you have done and for what you continue to do for the Anuak people. And not only the Anuak people, but the humanity. I was there in 2003 in Gambela, Ethiopia. Right now, it has been 21 years since these killings took place in our motherland, and our people are in exile. They live with trauma, depression, fear, and future uncertainty. Thousands of children were born outside of their motherland, and they don't know what Gambela looks like. Our resources continue to be utilized and be used by others: gold, water, natural resources. We cannot ignore this. And our people continue to be poor and poorer in that land. A number of teenagers, girls who were abducted by military at that time, young girls, a number of them never returned to their parents, were taken by the military. Yes, we need peace, we need forgiveness, but forgiveness without justice is not a reality. Justice is very important. So we at this time we are suffering. You may see every one of us looks like we are strong and good, but we are broken. How would you advise our community in diaspora to get justice? And how would you help us to see the power in us, the strength in us, that we could be able to change our lives here and back home? Thank you.
I must say that what you're doing, Pastor, and what all of you are doing here together is the best way to build that strength that you all do need as persons. You know, the thing about this work that I've discovered is that we may be many, many miles apart. But the truth is, we're not just material beings, we human beings. We're also spiritual beings. And there is a spiritual oneness that we feel together when we work for justice, when we work for love in our own personal relationship. That is the teaching, of course, of Jesus. Jesus is the leader for all of us. And what you are doing, Pastor, is so vital to building and conserving and making powerful that strength that you have. I know it's hard. I know it is very hard. I've talked to so many people from so many countries who've suffered from genocide. And it is, it's a kind of trauma that never can really leave you. But on the other side, there is a spiritual strength that we share because we work for the same force. You know, when people talk to me about God, I really do like to ask them, what do you mean by God? Because frankly, a lot of people, including people in my own church, have what I would call a fairly kindergarten concept of God. You know, they think of God as an old man in the sky by and by. Well, that's a kindergarten concept. It's certainly not an old man who created the universe, who created each of us. No, it's the force. It is the force. Because only a force can create the universe. Only the force can create each of us. And one of the things that I learned with it about that, and I was taught by Martin Luther King Jr., by the way, frankly. I was trained by his Christian Leadership Conference here in the United States. I was a civil rights worker in the South. But he always told us, always personalize injustice. Make sure people know that a person has been affected by the injustice. It's not just some abstract thing. A person has been affected. The reason why that's so important is because it is God who created every person. We, people, bring all the other things that we have among people, you know, governments, even churches, and many other of our institutions. Every time we think about those institutions, we should remind ourselves that they are made up of persons that God created. In doing that, it empowers us to see past the barriers that exist between us in different nations, in different institutions, around literally thousands of miles. Because we are one. We are one, as it says directly in the Gospels. We are all one in Jesus Christ. As Apostle Paul says in the book of Galatians, we are neither Jew nor Greek, neither male nor female, neither slave nor free. We are all one in Jesus Christ. With that, we can embody the force in our own lives. With that, we can bring about justice. So I thank you for what you are doing, because you are, in fact, living that force. You're creating the next generation. You are bringing forth the kind of power, the kind of force that will, in fact, bring justice. So I thank all of you, and especially you, Pastor.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Greg. Now, before I let you go, you have a question? Okay. I will only give two more people a chance. I will give two more people a chance to ask you questions. Please, if you can make your answers precise so that the weather is not very good today out there, so we need to get home. The next person that I'm going to chance to will be you. Okay. Okay, thank you, Dr. Gregory. My name is Yoko Pop. I'm an Amyot. I'm also an author. I wrote a book that explains how Amyot will kill. It's the part of supporting what you already explained to the world. But my personal question now is this. I personally want to get involved in the job you are doing, so how can I work with you?
I missed part of that. Would you just repeat it for me, please, Mr.
Okay, yes, my question was, I'm an Amyot, and I'm also an author. I wrote a book that titled is Destruction of the Amyot Kingdom, that explains the damage that has been done to the Amyot people, not only the genocide, before the genocide and after the genocide. Amyot are still being killed, or in different way are also dying.
It's too close.
Okay, okay, well, what part did you not understand?
I'm sorry, I don't hear it too well anyway because I'm an old man now.
Huh? Microphone. Okay.
Maybe someone else could also.
Okay, is that clear? Now? Okay, I said my name is Ukoto Pap. I'm an Amyot. I'm also.
The mic too close to your mouth. I can't hear.
Oh, yes. Okay, is that clear? Is that clear? Is my voice clear?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, what I will say is this. My name is Ukoto Pap. I'm an Amyot. I'm also an author. I authored a book entitled Destruction of the Amyot Kingdom that explains the damage, killing, and other things that has been done to the Amyot people. So now my question to you is this. I personally want to get involved to work with you in to bring justice to the Amyot people. So how can I get involved to work with you?
I understand. Thank you very much. I think it wasn't where the mic was. That was all that was wrong. It wasn't anything else. Wait, how you can get involved with us? Well, for one thing, I can tell you, Genocide Watch is an organization of volunteers. We have never paid a single salary. And the result is, even though we have worked for 25 years now, we have worked on about $7,000 each year. And yet, and the reason is we don't even need very much money, because what we do is we work through the institutions that can actually make things happen. I particularly have a couple projects right now with the United Nations that we're working on, and we have a couple of projects in which we're asking, for instance, the government of Bangladesh to intervene in the case of Gambia versus Myanmar, which is a genocide case, and we're doing the same with the government of Rwanda. In fact, I was just in Kigali a few weeks ago. So that's the kind of volunteer. But what would be particularly helpful to genocide is to have some of your most outstanding people, especially young people, volunteer to become interns with Genocide Watch. It doesn't require that you work full time. Our internships are part time. They can be done from anywhere. It's an all virtual internship program. And what we would ask you to do then is have the people who come to work with us as interns work, 15 hours a week or so, in which you would be really oriented towards reporting on what's happening in Ethiopia and working on projects connected with Ethiopia, particularly And so that's the objective that I would have, is to have some of your young people, you don't know what's going on, starting back. Sorry, I missed something. So that'd be the first way we could ask you to help us. You can just go to our website, which is genocidewatch.com, and you'll see over there, join us, and it tells you how people can become staff with, and I actually don't like the word interns because they're just plain staff. I mean, the truth is, we've got practicing lawyers and every kind of other person who's working with us as volunteers. So that's the best way to help us work on these things together, is to have people apply to work with us. And we're about to begin a new group of interns or staff in the second week of January. So if you get the application in right away, we will invite you, or whoever it is who applies, to join us. It won't take that many people, but what we need are people who can speak the language. That's a huge help. And then, can report with us. So we have project coordinators and so forth. So that's my answer to you.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Craig. I would like to offer one more question. Please make your question short, and Dr. Craig, I will also ask that you make your answer precise. I know we need more time to discuss and have a roundtable discussion on these issues, but because of the time and the weather outside, majority of us traveled over 80 to 85 miles, and therefore driving back in the snow will not be fun. I'm going to offer one more chance.
Thank you, Greg. My question is not that hard, it's very simple. So, what kind of role you could play to make sure the Ethiopian government acknowledge the genocide in Ethiopia? Thank you.
Have done so for many years. I wish that there were a government that could just admit what happened. Have reports that said that. Obviously, human rights groups have already filed the report. Genocide Watch did right away. Human Rights Watch did as well. There have been many other reports now about what happened. We would like to see an official acknowledgement of it by the Ethiopian government, and I think that has not yet come. So we'll just keep the pressure on. As you know, some of the people that we have worked with in the past have actually gone to advise the new government after Meles was overthrown, that they were afraid, a bit disappointed that the new government has not yet acknowledged the facts about the genocide against the Anua. We will keep going. What I've learned about these things is you have to be relentless. You have to keep going, and that is what it took. For instance, in Cambodia, it took us 20-some years before we had a trial with Khmer Rouge leaders, so we eventually got it. And it just, you have to be relentless. So we will, of course, keep reporting on what's happening in Ethiopia, and we'll keep as much pressure as we can on the government there.
Thank you so much, Dr. Greg. But before I let you go, we would like to express our gratitude as a Anua community. We are deeply grateful and appreciative of the efforts you and your network have made in exposing the killings and human rights abuses committed by members of the Ethiopian National Defense Force and certain individuals. Your work has shed light on these atrocities, and we cannot thank you enough for the dedication and courage you and your inner circle have shown. Thank you so much, and we are always happy to hear from you. Thank you. Ber kiyana awinyo gundel mondo nada bere ke pano jano pano pe ke piet ba ichai mo babeyo abo gundel nada ke chasial. Moving on, I'm going to invite Brother Abdullah Sheikh to also share and make some remarks on his effort and dedication in making sure our history and story are heard. Mr. Sheikh.
Let me try and greet you. Assalamu alaikum. Dari Jot. That is the first word I have learned today. And my great friend who was trying to translate for me, Ojagu, yes. I was at a very good table where Ojagu was explaining to me, translating. I had three beautiful ladies the table. So I was reading their expression. I could see I was reading their expression. I was trained as a physician assistant in Kenya. I'm from Kenya, but Somali. Anybody know Swahili? Okay. So and in clinical medicine, you learn when a patient is coming to you, you look at the expression, the posture, the pain he has, whether he is clenching, gritting the teeth, and you assess the patient before you even ask him, uko mgonjwa wapi? Where are you suffering from? So I was reading their expression. One thing I liked about this group is you are speaking your language. Don't lose it. Tell those guys who are here with a lot of capes and funny clothes that they should not lose their language. Don't be like the Somalis. They're losing their language. They're losing their culture. They are becoming a bit difficult, the younger ones. So please speak your language. The second thing I want to acknowledge is faith. Faith. The word faith is very important, not only in religion, but faith in what you're doing. Faith in what you believe. You believe in God. Faith. I always say I will associate with people who have faith than people who do not have faith. You can be Christian and go to the church, I'll go to the mosque, but all of us are the children of God. Maumbile ya Mungu. That is what I believe in. That you can go here, I can go there, but all of us are the children of God. So I am the product of the 1960s. I was brought up in Kenya, born, bred in Kenya. We were divided by the colonial government or the colonies in 1884. We were put in Kenya, Somalia, Ethiopia, Djibouti, and so Ethiopia also was one of the colonized who have divided the Gambelas. The Sudanese were also the kingdoms who have also terrorized the Gambelas. So I got involved in the work of human rights in 1980. The Somalis in Kenya are also minorities like you. We are denied access to everything. Getting an ID is a problem. Getting a passport is a problem. Our education is lower. In 1980, I was part of people who were rounded up in Garissa, a place called Garissa Massacre. In 1984, I want you to listen to this one, Wagala. Can you write Wagala? Wagalla. Wagala Massacre. They rounded up the Somalis in a place called Wajir. I'll share with you. 4 days, no water, nothing, killed people, raped people, burnt houses, just like the Gambela. Wagala Massacre. I'll share it with you. My journey as far as human rights is concerned started in 1980. I was a young man, handsome, still handsome. They stole my innocence. The Kenyan government, the Kenyan security forces, the Kenyan army took my innocence. That is the day I said, this is my journey to understand what human rights is all about. Human rights has no borders, no religion. Please know that. It has no religion, it has no borders. So why I got involved with the Gambela in 1983, I was volunteering for the Minnesota Human Rights for Advocates for Human Rights. So, and I used to volunteer some hours, and that is when I got involved, heard about the Gambela. But again, my search to understand the brutality of the Ethiopian Defense Forces did not end. Even as early as yesterday, how many people love their mothers-in-law? I love my mother-in-law. I was asking her yesterday, the father of my wife, her father was killed in Ethiopia by the Amhara government. And I was asking her, Mom, because my mother-in-law is my mom. I was asking her, Mom, how was it when you were young? I was telling her how I got married to her daughter. And I was telling her, Mom, tell me when you were getting married to the father of my wife. And she was explaining a lot of things that she said. We were in Ethiopia. It was 50 years ago. The army came and killed the father of Rukia, my daughter, your wife, and we had to go all the way from there. And so the brutality of the Ethiopian government is everywhere. The footprint. Another mother who was a client of mine was telling me how the Ethiopian government, mostly the Amhara, came to a village and wiped everybody, Somalis. I also see a story of Nagahbur, somebody who went there and was shown people who were detained, and mostly they were Somalis. Rape of women. When it comes to rape of women, as a doctor in a small town, a clinical officer, what we call clinical officer in Kenya, I could sit in front of clients brought to me, and nothing is worse than rape. I could sit with these young ladies, they're crying, they can't say their name, they don't know what to say, and I couldn't stay there. I moved away from there. I said, I can't no longer. So when you talk about rape, banning, collective punishment, killing, is something that I grew up with. So what I'm trying to say is you have a friend who will be with you, who is ready to support you in any endeavors that you can. So Mushoe, I also like you guys because you look very tall, strong, handsome. You are the Luos of Kenya. Could write some of the words I was hearing. Maber, Mabiro, Marapi. This is Luo language. So in essence, I will leave you there. So I'm very excited, but very sad also. So last night I was reading about this guy's 10 steps of genocide. I didn't know him. The 10 steps of genocide. I didn't know it was him. So read about that genocide, educate yourself. And by educating yourself, freedom justice is never given. It is never given. You have to fight for it. Politicians are not going to bring justice to you. No, they will work for their stomach. You guys, what you do is keep up the struggle. It's painful. I'm writing a book, the crimes of a nation and the crimes of its citizens. Because in 1963, we fought the Kenyan government to join Somalia. They finished us, raped us. So the injustice of Kenya in terms of the Somalis has never ended. We are more like the Gambelas. They said they were drilling oil and they put waste, toxic waste. And today in the region I come from, it has the highest rate of cancer. So I'm with you every time. Give me a call. I will be with you. I'll give you my hand, my money, my head, my heart, everything you need. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Asante sana, Brother Sheikh. But we have come to the conclusion of the first section. But second section, sorry. Thank you for reminding. Before I move on, I would like to share something I believe in. How many of you lived in Kenya? Majority of you. Libero Kenya kakata kweli dano anwa dano ber mulgo discriminate. Kun dano ko ojo ke beri ka beringa ke beta nwada. Yeah. When an Anwa person describes a friend or somebody whom they like so much, they would describe them, oh, these people are like Anwa, they are so good. What can we learn from there? And being an Anwa is not about color. Being an Anwa is not an identity. Being an Anwa is about culture. Alright? Now come here Anwa, better kumumay, dapat kumumay. Let's keep that in mind. Kapag well, two din mo ada Anwa. Baka? Okay. Baka na magkumumay nga, budjoti beto mari ilija. Iba kami Anwa. Mga tara kapag people like Joe, people like Abdullah Sheikh, people like Dr. Greg, and so many other people who are advocating the rights of our people deserve more from us. Kazara ka yung pinunangan pa natin na bangani. Gerpen mo na Anwa mga ginamag ito, lagi tigire. It is the use of social media. The way we navigate social media is going to divide us. And we may end up losing focus. Uburi muatro, they will catch up. Budget on that, I don't want to begin in a social media going to Mura. What I'm saying here is the culture that is being challenged right now, the identity of being an Anwa is challenged by the way we navigate social media, especially people who have become of age. Consequences that are pretty good right away. Dawa to kujua kitendo ya consequences dawa hiyo. Miri moga akarpia madam miri moga akamne dawa mjani cho damai. Yeah. So let's keep it in mind. that is going to challenge us and destroy us. I'm not saying this to scare anybody, but be mindful. Yeah, be mindful. Kapara operator. And the around the Berikara will back to Puruma. Station Marshal Karamudon, Matanimo, point out the power of Baba Ujuru. Ujuru Guarapa, Ethiopia. But kita nak pun kawan-kawan ibu kawan-kawan no kuareka cini ujung kuara I speak about 5 languages, so I'm good.
Eno ciri kejiran itu namaro dulu kere bajo ke partano bero kan ngade be na lechan ngate kan ai ông nào ne gina na uta go ro na let di changa chal rewe le welo na kin mo ber pai le de dak kada mana chana di de joro korto ba kor chiri ma pira ria ka chel from now ya cara na wachungo ba tieto ipo ora gino kwa no ba mwaditi an ko ne gora jo ma ba man kaya nakte na tim juri ni bung jo mo jon mo tra ka ge mo na udong ne na akom na pi kan maroma pole ati mo ne de mo yok wel ne karje ne nyoki je ya ti mo ne de mo yok wel ne karje ne nyot ke ora jo mo ka man jigi taw ko man tiji go nyen jo ka kel ba ka nda go jo man mo na udong ne cham gi ke ko re gin ko ne no ango jur kala yi mon no yi ka maria do ya nya kela rangi kra nang da nya chon mo do bugala kra yini ne da gampela itoi pu wala digala wiya no akare nang michel awuni chon ni kita tok ne dana bawal amujur kala iman man ne dana amujur kala iman man na wali kamar gin mulit ya ke jurri mutot daire mo ya pole kwel ne daire mo ya pole ke gwel ne dogari ni kamar lot ku yini gina tilet amujur lai mon man apota wore na ko yigi imanga wudi ke gwel ni wudi ni dirgi ke perkwel anga pa ta wangala mon na wori apota wore na joga ngare kamar gwen begidi changi ni choge ke gwel ke bangi ni wid gwel anga anwa pare wangala mon na wori ni penchama ka tara ko la apota wore na ni badi pen kamar tiang begidi changi ni choge ke gwel ke bangi ni wid gwel anga anwa dure pa polman ngade ba ber
Thank you. Yeah, changoni chapa and now chairman the Ethiopia wagan ujuru kore na the interview mutin mutetio question da mutin mutetio kaje mutai. Thank you.
Ya pon male project di dok ber jiso jono kwaro ya de ko ngi cenno amanyo no puado kire man ragdoj an wari jom man wala gino kala wunyo no beregal ya kore jawraj ba uni ke kor jut namunut uno mulu piu kore mane be gripi mo dong doj kare kore o popo achel ma man ne na man chan bang wir do bo wiri o pono pupin karo jutu ne na doj ka cheni kore o chapo e doj ka ya mana be gripi mo pere la doj kare gin ne na kany mon yukalo na gin mo maro ya pin manu pin gon be gin mo o pin ke per to kare ke per de jal bungoni mati manu kare ne bere no kore una chapo e doj kare ya kin do wana to go ko kare kare de lu ma na chona ke pere kany mutin e lumban daraman ne jami mong ne chiwit jo mok ginne la kany ke peren be lu mu to Ethiopia ne de bandara mala ka je ba bandara man o kany di kamot lañ man pe joy mok oni mono pongo no pongo wujuri no na rio pa ma nyokro okor pe nyi to ona ngori mok ke South Sudan mo wa wi loy Ethiopia kore en no dwal Kongo ono dwal man ono wujuro cielo kore gina to ni lut kany ke pere bandara man be perman di ceng mana ngekje on nung nona nyoy ni bungan mu jero di ceng cha anyoy mu South Sudan da mu ton moto anyoy mu South Sudan da mu ton moto nglañ man kwan nyange kore en kanyan maro o en kanyi ke nona nyoy ne na ko na nyoy kore no bambe muy belen man per man nu gi kany ne de ngan mu kanyun tun kere be ci wiye mu ten be per man ne nga ya korno uno puaga per malago ana u kany monne de gi mu penyo ke jammi mo bu njaro do ngayu e pana discussion ne de gi mu gi penyo ne dugi ya ke an nga December 13 firi mo pirario ka riyo o pirario ka cheleno o firi mo be nut no pir penchot ke twer ba de jammi mu lawo chot achano yawtini ba media gina na mulao justice po bong dana mo penyo ke chicken maya jai ka kan ge ye po ko chen japo na riyon kore ono no mo pe no kina gin chot japo na riyo yo ulamo kore jutio ke pere ne kar jai ne jot ne tu ne ji mi de penyo ke che beoni mana manyane chana ne chano kanyun no wabang gina namo kanyun ano kan ke pere genocide mon kanyun krito December 13 lañ man tu no wunyu no wae de to mo dong mo to teng yatit chiro da mo to pinyuro ya kado ito film na pure December 13 do mok to mo kon mo keni kany mon kel na mo kany mon meten ma gi boro mi dot kore en na kan ke pene de jim pene gi jami mo gawo ko jami chara mo gene de kon ge mo ma nyomon genu giton me ba ko jami mo tente gene gi kri gi po ko per cha gi di ke per ma jigi kel na mo kany mon genu chung jami mo gene ne gi pigi kore je moan mo kany mun ne kany de jam dugi do ke ya ngi ne choro ne o kany ma de kon je ka bo mot o ko to pa ko to pa mo o jaga o kon Bel ke ya na muy mon pa pin mo kan man nyero be pin mo nut mo ngayak babber ne de jamimo mo joro kan kili mo tente kore yedu bormon ba ke percha mayat wo wokrat ke ya ne de la yak kore ne no abang program mayan kanyun ne jowne age payo kan ko ne de jamimo tente monon na ke pere kur mutot lum economy ni to kache de ko gana jemi ge nok ge chan ge ker goro jami mo tete da ono ta ge gone ko re mo ke be de mo to ko ne pe lum mo bor o jaga Mr. Oja pi no abe odgor o ya nywa ki woni o ni ditwa ne guni ko long man karkata lo lam joker wal Christianity do mission mo ina mo American e do ma dunyi go ki chiro o gi boreche tel man piji bodo peno kan won gino udunyi ni di ay woni to ne de ki pinu chan ko pere.
Ya, ber remor una poch. Ka diri anyoy kay mor kay beto mar gi bare. Gana ji ma gana wijur ma ga ben nyej. Ma ko loy na lo Sudan wala loy na lo Ethiopian koñ do mu ci pa ko ma jigi go gi malo bongo. Ba kana jima ga kar goro kan bar ka permana mo bangdana mo jam nyingini kore kay moral or gor ne pie ba nywa kay moral wo koro jok kore kay moral o jok jenno kay to na kay moral den lum Christianity ne wo ne pie Sudan de pon kay moral 6th century lum goni lum Christianity a pie Sudan ba dire ka goni rewile ko jo no magana serles mo wo ay mor nay gina ngari ne to ne orgor utono wodaj arkaja kay mor be kay to Presbyterian mo ne American missionaries gino to ko man to na gaay na gi Sudan ora kay mor kay bedgi Sudan ka chani what doj ke jirana be the Second World War. But before that, colonies. The British were going to want Sudan to colonize. What kind of bed colonialism man on the link in 1885? Not Kiraja Madi, the British colonials man. I mean, the British Aranya Karkaja, Rinyan Mutual, Captain Gordon, man Karkaja, Kora Khartoum Rangi. Tuna sara loin ni chola ugrat in Umdurman. I didn't know that tuna kaimor by capital city Karkacha. Baka tuna 1898 the British force smoked down marching walk or a Maria Goji or a gana Khartoum matching it in a gina capital city Mar Sudan. So kaya tuna 1945 kaimor American missionaries gina wo Christianity at Turkey Egypt. Baka tuna kaimoro I ni chata lojana lo sa jeni kore lo nam ne Egypt congregation fana jeni awege bang je Egypt kore gana ching jabo ko moro Mar Sudan kore ka jeno through missionaries mo mo America kay moro ci wud gini man ma de wud jure ba lumi ni lum jokan poker bi bangeni bak dum ben ma doj ngat jol ko pere be British bar ngata pangone ne to ne kay moro lo Ethiopia ko lo Sudan dawa Bega core divide and conquer, divide and rule. Manama system man you lich. And no mirigi ben mo na me dimo panga. Then Korea panga. Kaya na miri mo to mo to do me panga luok dere ejira e panga to. Kay mo dim ni lich jak jogo ni no panga de par consequence mara pak ngaji man mo naji tingi do to bajot. So the core kajano ka to 1945 American missionaries mo na magano be Presbyterian Dutch. But again all do man go ni awingi man mo de jure to be magana remote area we jure shel be anwa makay mo gor po karpi bangi.
papa lumot gordi na mangene be lum jok ne pie bangene ne jojine ne munyu seb baka du na kay mor gaay ne ge piji ko ne jene ajot ge man mo lum gor ke dera to na challenge lu mana goni chani jigi na di ko ne ko kor ka je de mok mu chaay mo ge do ma chip gini rock gini missionaries mo ko no wo ko ko na apar gi man to ne kay mor dañu ak panji ko ne wel jog ne par man lokko ko dañu bara ñu agar ka ja wala dañu wala de juno me gor mo do jere mo gino de chano jere ko atunu bongo so gini jeno be challenge man na mu tunu ndoto ka rangi goni ne kay moro gin ma nyagoni ne ma nyiki jo mo wili ko goni kore apar gi man to ne kay moro lumo gor de para bakar kaycha lu man no gor be ko bang nyiki le jende ko bari nyiki le kay woni dim jure mo be resistance do ma jure banyo ore ngune ko ndi jur man na mo tati den na pokar konyo ano to no konyo kore ki bug mara gore le girbe ngay cipeñ mono ko de wu jur min wala nywa mama man gone mo yiga power wala man yiga tone mo yiga gor e bare na mama na itiyo jere bote so kay mor dates mo gi doj bo lan jere man mu nyago pinpoint na par ak jero ga cha man mu nyang doj research ba palle de ne pie ba be 21st century kay mor be na to na kay mor lum gor on ne pie ba ore ko kor ka jeni ji mo chiptet gini a jingi winyo man mo anywa to be do me la lo Ethiopia lum jok to po man jago ne wingi ni ore ko kor man jeno kay mor be na to ne ngati ari ni ko lo dan ko group mo gana tew ko man dogi ko badu piano na day station man to le akade may poko kar ka je pro de to no do ye kor ka je pio do kor lo jeno lo bar gi lo jeno ke jira ga na pia genga ka che to na station margeni jira na jare ni wala Carolyn ay mor de ko wara mo gone wan sa wara ma de bi kun jene ke chi mariet gelo e bara nyoy ka no mi no pi bangi e mo ngi mu nyaga nyeng chon mo nyenga tut e jira ni ni le je ni nya jakke ke ngon mo ko ne pa nyeng mo na diri nyeng chon do kore ba mo be mo ci ba nywaki ngi yu marge ke gini kay mor ne ye jeng no gorno kor missionaries happy bangjo ba gina non gor ni geleje pe ni ngato wa kar japi ni gelej ka to na kay mor pe we yo the second world war mare to mo karkaja be 1945 kay to na kay mor ga manya do kore ngom mana nama margam bela karkaja ka permana mo bang patch mo power mare era tiergo karkacha kaya tu nuru ngo mana wala ne wiye jang na chana wiye tu kero goni at the same time the disappointment mana tego dere ke par de spies me jango ko woro o atira nywa bora territory mana nywa bora orango na mar jawo ko ne kay mo retaliation par le mana konkel le dato ne ji cingi du na nywa na munyga na le pare de dimago bore bakar kacha kay tu ne kay mo kero ne jokora chwerna na riona ne wo na ko ne goge ne wujuna nywana ne dimgeni de barambe troops mo wana munji gili leñ marana mar World War II ma en gi ye karkaja in Northern Africa ka chene Libya ka Morocco leñ mana yana tuna tek ka barji German gi do ka to ko ji Italy so the man to ne chamar gi wangi mo ka ji ma patriot jigi forces mo no mundu ndu goya nywa gra tunu ga kita gnade mari chene ki jo ma to okoya joki witi wir gina dog Northern Africa utuna lin mari chene kela ga kune ke troop mo mo German ke Italy ko ona bot so in another way God spares us ona we joki ki jo mo ko chara bakay tunu wonna na ko na linya tumno gra gaw ka ile salaze bara ile salaze be ala mari karkaja ile salaze to kiro ga talian bangat jidde bayga ko be nyigli so karkacha idol mana wachana je ile salaze ne je ina kago yoga be no witieri nyingi kar jappi so nyigli tay ile salaze dol mana winje or gor kare mana nyu chan nigli jire kare tiyo baka to na missionaries to no to re ngajini yo romo Sudan kan to ne jena ngap karkacha kore kai mora pengini nen no juru moy no manya ne lum dong ne chan jigi ami lum ko manya gone ne de dok wala ini gripe mo de goro ja wala karkacha bu goro kata mare wala dengli bu goro to so kai no akon ber ba ti no kelang men kere karkacha na rai Israel no gojo no piang wani para tunya na depoy yang bari panga ana to na depoy ba pakare ana girpe njono wi utio so he was not going to share the nation na kan mu goro jabo yede karkacha kai morbe yakada kaya genga ne karkacha wi jokto de goro do mo ne ke par karkacha ke jira ba tuna kel ba yili silas di japor gor atin ne be kadam mara ba ki wot bare no mala teo ay mora yili silas kaya to ne dol mara goni uchara
Sorry.
Sorry. So kaya tuna kai mor dol mana goni chana je Elizalaze u tuna remorse do me jura ko kon mana jura to kaya tuna kai mor manya embassy mar British ginangati Sudan karkacha gono romo commissioners mo goni kora allocation mara nyodi jirina kanya niebe kon mana yekera tuna be kon mana japot jo barene tuna kai mor gor pi banywa kore chuni chepen od gora jabe kelangwen kere kore ga kor ka jeno ni jogoro jena ka jirane ginangati ya bukaine idara nyanya wan wala nyanya tu kore jo nyanya to ka jira gina poto wo no we walk ke barma na me yuan ga dere kunyo to ji mo na makai gina rubi jiskaje na makai mor ga kero anero kare na needs dogo manto na kai mor ngi de do manya na ponyi to so urgorino mo japte ngi tangar kaja kelke mo gana gambela mo wacho la high school kaje ni ba gerga paranyoy mo ga gerga rubi jis mo na mando to mo o ki Sudan karkaja na mag kero anyoy jon bo ngor gor mo jaw jere bare bare gino mo ka man god gene bakay do na kai mor yilis laze ako mare da ranyo darge o ore dergi no we missionaries mo no mera I paj karkaja na ma jode gi ponyo gana yemi gi bet jom mere par gana kono gana imperialist ci kwany na kurkwach jere do mo ni chara ga dam mara karkaja kore missionaries mo no ma gana Ethiopia gi bet gana yemi ke par Ethiopia karkaja atone na under influence mar Russia otone socialist akoma mane be na kare kore je was ga perma na ma gana je capitalist jo American missionaries mo na mena Ethiopia ke ber yami so dongo mara kai karkacha no or gortuo mor den wato karkacha puro do mi chalo mai ke gambera kan wala kitang na Sudan kon chen je gado ona ga kanu gado ka bi kora chap ke tugli yami mo de kala Ethiopia kon ke ta kon ito kore trade money cheni ke permanda mo ayil salaze kayowe ajuk manu tire je do karkacha na lakli ke ngoni titi no be taxi mare bobon ko mi titi ji jaw bel lakli ke jami ko warki mo na mun do kale kore da wada mala wati ne na port money cheni de ji mo tabanya me kalo ke perne ka goni ke jami mo na mo trading o goni ne o korgini jo goni permanda me gana ja islander manyaw karane nyigine god gini so orgori no mo na mun do mo jal ko per rubijis yogo to gana ton kay morga de poñ na nyoa jana nyeng gar cholo doj kay morga kor kay to ne kingdom marayil la zo podono darga kay we awo kare ke girbin moro mo nyan mo cholle mo sere tumerte yo dongo go goro to kel ko bure kore orgor na munye ke expand matin kore uri mo na mun do na mo rubijis karkaja amunyi convert routine gana class mu jumoga uduni je goro be kan koina wodo channino teka margini kore wodo kori wala jona kabarte jona ngoma mogi de lan lot jogo ben ngoma ka lok cengiri so gina jeno be akona mana odergi badergi to no we
aja gwang doj mo duong nya kai matin na tie ke la par kuryo bano gori no pia pa kuryo kai pra bang titi ai pra bang puj para bi na no pia ngwen pra bang puj amet utore no tu ni pia pa kuryo pra bang puj to kore college wala university wala degree mo dem ma nya doj mo de tio bango gana man do jujur mana nywa gar ka ja kai mor be puj kere di cheyenno kai moro choto jogi e bar karche wujiyona jot kelji to mo kongo karkacha nana ma kai mor gano bod mala pa gordo mo ci wujigi kai mor te ngadong kai tur kai mor gari mo gor rayil salazen nana ma kai mo te go pod mal be wot mo de chama mo wugem de yedo karane jaji de gala kune ke bar e be jiti ke por gorum pi bay ten jeddo to ten joyle mariam ke jekk dane mariam nyingi mo ngone be nying mo tiji ne gati ne to minere yago ke bar no kadi ni nyingo mot ko jule ba pa be man daagi nyingi ni kedane mariam ile mariam ngone ko ne ngi jiti ke gumde lege poti nyim ay mo ne ye channo gor mo mu ci wujja nywa ba nywa da po ko par tek wuj mare ke tek log mare ko man ko dere to ne ko mare ne barañ ko re gino na kay mor be ne ti nywa ne to survive ne ruwe de chen ko par jure mo tot be jo mal ne manya ko kare be ne wujur mare nywa ne rañ ko re kay mor missionaries gida po ko be ne japot doji ko re jo ko ko
pero ja ne potana bay na ko kora bang jomoga depuis mor ko ne oni nona wujur anywa gina to nona target di ji mo ando mo kanyun gyo jone be ki ba teng du fuji ji mo no mo ni ke kanno ji mo no kyo gen kel ka kum to mo ni be rote gina rewan to target di ki bango ke tem jami mo ni rayan de to mano tere tunni ke toj kel ke jami mo tete ne chani ni ye chek ya ke perchay
ya man to ke jira ne ke te mana chan na cho ngala kanya diti man mo identity mar dano beno no ngi ci gone man mi na wujuni no kay mor botte maro ka wanchuñ ka konji atune na downfall maro adona be jo chel mana to ne kay mor opodo ko goni war juru mo go bet a jodgi man mo de ko mo ber de ba de jami to mo be de mo beto mo tano be no wi leer ko goni war jami go ber mo re pedo na mo de gala bang juru mo go bet bu ci jogi na to de ngo mar po kono nutte roko ko ko goni ko par yora ja ka gi be mo ge bero ton no bare ka goni kare bang dano manyo baka on ne mbada dano no mo ko kany moro pon be ne kel karnine mari kre wi wi ko par ngato goni ko par be kongo man na mera de toni manu be ko goni ne dano ma dano inga do dano ma dano mer ko goni dano ma dano mani gina bera tijire baya nguna na jing tonu ko man mo dano fay ci no bore de mo mo witu no wori channi gino no chori gi mo ko no ko ni tangone no ci gir mana tewro ne ngo jabe so jogi to ke par man me gi ni en ba na miro bongo bangi kay jor ko goni cuñgi lam ko na bromi ka kwalkere ke par gogi go ya ngunu no gin manyi gina woni be man ko ne ke par kel balañ ka kwañ o kali o pidi wala o kidi ko pokon jeni be man manyi go ne ngadi ne rañi ni woyni dai ka go ne gina go to yeno ngomar po ke jira kel te gre par gani man kiti ko yit jite mo gine kel gine kiti po bana pie po ngoma tal jami kar ciek so e jono man o ko gone del ne ko ngi jami mo wona be yo gone be man on e juru won ko perne nen nak ay mor du do mi ha woni ni mo fo da mo mu ci ka dur ka man mo ko noor cala diang ga gëna ngati ka ren so ko pure mo to ko ndana mo background mare kui let ko re gëna wona be gëna be ci no ma ko nañ wane ko ne tu na lañ ka man ko ga ñwa ma ya wati mana no rok ke kerge ni ngaji ko no lañ na ka man aji bak ni man ne mu ngi fess ni ye ci la bar ju ako mo ina rew beten gi na mo bongo jigi utu na tot no no tengo mar po
ai mo be tiere gone obo nang gir pin mo yoba ba nang miro maro te tek maro ka lay wich maro kel ki te ki jure mo be dana mo wi leer mo lañ man to ne ay do mo tieti mo pero ru jure mo chol mo la mo South Sudan gi bet wala number 1 kay chare wala ka beto ma lay wich wana ka por mana gono be gino woni na tourne no gone moving forward ma nyagone to ne chare ju bore to e parne tudni mo tagi ne taki ne getting nga ro mo nyogo defend di de go mo kwaya ber
ya ber ina chapo jaga ya di timon ka to ga per lum chay du ya do jeni do gom de mu di ci jigine rok ne changi ne bere ba gana jey mo gino kunni community do ya ka ci la man ka la goni ya ke ane reji mo ma nyane prinya be okoto pap ber ke ane man be pin mo beri kere gin mo ngaji be yak ba ingari man ki do mo do go ngani jena damu ji goro ko buki okot ko mo jena ngoni ni yeshege yak
ko ngo be gira ngate be beto mal dama ki ngade mare ki let per jire dere moy ki japoti ni ni ki goni wala meng wala jano wala wodo ko ngo mar dama bere wala kalcha manago kel chiki dere ni ene japo per jami moni bere gagi iko go peti to mano mogo bet ene ko ngoma tengenno wara beje paj mono to ge wo kel chugo mo duong yak ko tero ngo kem ngata tin be kul be me bangata duong to rena mal be wot man to the same thing bagi ke kalcha manini je magya mere kay ko yina kut ni mo ke mo wuru jon ke wala ke meru ko yino kulli bi ben ni mari tot ba moy papa ko mar jibe joino grupo ki beto manu kare ki goni munu ki pay moro lo man ko ni ko mana ko raj ba ke po ko mana ko ujio wayna dugo mo ten na bo gidangati jori ni influence mar woku dunyo de jen special law jori Ethiopian kalcha baranya ki Ethiopia ranyi ka tek baranya nyoki ki kere e ko rany ko ki nyi cara gono ko ki nyi ma wala nak kalcha marji go ki go kina to mu ci bum tekke cara go Ethiopian government mo ki je mo kalina nywa nyu julu nyu mat ba ti man tie mo ranya beta nywa ni bet kala ne kit kay so gi bet ina intention jon mo ti ngi ina mo ginu tie mi chane e kor firi mo pire de firu pire ngwenda nywa pire kan mi nyiri enno i chana ga nywa mo ke pire rio mo di chuo wala nyak wala de wala dawo page ko ni ngwa ko to nyen ko le ko ba mu ya wara bere ni jiri ponyo ko karo i pire je ngwani family mo ngi bet mera nyingati wa nyingati chana ba bi yo ko bungo mo i be gi ne nditi ko mara nywa parani
ya ina kwa per pit ma ma duni goni ina chapo do kere na poto na kago ina dunu no per la do ya ke ya ne ke ko mo tot teng e jo man no rogan guti met kamon onge mo da mara ni ke tek oni to de ko ngi to mo kan won o no kay marani jeni man ko mo mber dang wala bakki jo man chado ga na wijur ki jo man ko mo mo no jure mo mare jo man no man karo ko mara ko en ray ko nidi
okay ke jela de beto man gina ngate moy ne japene reen ba ngom influence mari dongay dan japene positive ben tangi bela ga nyenno ñu bodo muy tenten te tiego gi mo be yow especially pani baki ñeme future mari timoni tek manya puj me ki we ki family manya ki pogi bungi pogi mor mena wo o kala mi gi wo bu ñaari poñi ñaaro te ber ina mo ñaaro de jiri bung de poi mot chenu ngati ngaba ngate man manyene nge inyilal mare mana kel bo ngom gañ di poi mar ñaare di poi mar wore ngadu tinyilal mo ber be mi gi wo mo ko ni wokino ko ngi po mo tin ba bakal wo gi niw per ngata ñol ni laro ko jon be ngata ni gina ber mi gi pere be ngata ni security man ni laro ko ngoy be ngata ni ge ba ber be ja ba ngom be tietio so man ko ni mo mi gi wo ni man ko ni tuna pa yorate marri ni ñu bore ni ba ti man de kwong te ngeen no pan ni jen ni woy ma wala ki ñu ni riye ko baña dama mo bodo cara ko ñu laal min mo poritin baña ko be ror gor ya school torgo way wa college in wopi college ko high school mo gimmo gor mu tiyo gi goni kar ber ya ni bu skill na bare bare baña ñu laal tin mu nya ñwani de skill mu do jiri mu ray ko gi goni ne ba university gor gi skill mu kega tietio mor mo kenya ga mu tietio be jo man kar ko pani bano wi we ak bo jabo ko bon ti ke pero gor mana wone dama gor ci university kel mal ko no ci jom ko mañ go jal ba moy gin moy met go mi ko ri ko family mari ne be income mari wala source income gino do pere den man be ne la liak di bongi skill mo re ko na pre pre
bari na chapo ya okot
so many of the people better number one ago put you per country better in a going up pretty if I market man tell you very never to the better go and get a while you pretend that I will only a full so many man of the you have to focus again for a different person
chogo mo kwere de po ko far amito but pi mana gon man dok jeni to jena ko mo to ya ina po super ma mete ya piche mano chungo na bang ko to panwa Mr. Court jeni cultural assimilation walteng kongo maneng mar joman moy jomoke jeni lañ man tu ni jeni ay ni chata joman mar genocide ne jo ruan teng misale da mu chala teng miri mu chiro teng nyum anyway mo donka cheni itcha mo yeno gebe bere kongo man mar nywa teng chira ni di ray goni di ke jo man kere chata bang genocide
ke jara wodo po be unen kanyen ke jo wingo adiri manyane o chan kare ke per adiri be gir pen ma ber malañ ke man tume ni kwa ko to ke per ngato tume ni etio e dong mari e to na bongo kwere yiginak cara yenna ke per kaun tu yena de kwa ina tuni ina juneja cara dana mo kwala jiba o peje na jiba cara go ina na kare yenna ka bang mero ko wuro kari bongo ina da mo to cara go jo kenen ke bet gananda
ina poito tere per maximali sekni to awu do tere ni ye chanya charam jina genocide per yang ge moy no don kurmo kana ne ge ni ko maro ke chara ge no to kora ko pa no kwere man ne ke yak be yuru len ni jini ke par ko man ne ke ke yela ka ya ina poche per mana goni jeka pin man no bay okay sorry ana boy ka chini ana boyo o kot ni meti pa man je to awara ten kon man moy ke per ya pe ni ke pin mana didi man ne jena jo to mo to ni jena genocide to cara mari ke
ka won chona ke per identity ke dere cara go in muru moyo identity maro uranyo yang uranyo ko ngomane no je renyo utu ne jomo enno ka ten example ma chano ga diti puda anywake mo na nasir ke yeno wala nyum munyin kuji puda nyanga nywai bo chana da nywa be gira gudu kare ga dito ne penyi go ine mo kere chana ne gine be gina nywake munyum ba ine mo no do mo bi chano ba no mo ka tumu gi chana ga reno ne wu ngami mo na gine nyum ini to ba nywa go mo nyum nyum be to kito ni da ki le burgan be mo ga do gi kunu cheni ka to ni mo do to ni to u da gi ni mo o dang ne gi ni wa ku chala ka cholo nyu mi no jogo chana be gi ba joddo gi wi kunu je ko ro chip ka je ka foto na apo di chagi nyum kare ni gi di par gi bu pon mana be di je jogo nyum ka je ne ko ri gi no be tu gi nyum mo gi kare di kala ko je ubiti kan e be muy kina pop mo ga to gina do chiro cara mo do no ni kerda be gi no mo ni mo ngo di chen no ni gi karge nyi tek nyi go buru mo tek cham ga danyo ni dige mo tek reklam to ne gina nywa do mo te magja ba no to cara ga kur mo kamare kalte to reverse nyi di omaya ina mo jogo ko yo gi de ni dige ne per yirbet ke per ni namro maro to ne metgi
ina ko ke per ma medi but mana chan Mr. Ko ya bija kam na wa bai ke ya tuni mo anu muto ranywa to da muto do kwang kel mana won pio December 13 keteng mo chan kanya diti mo da muto kanyu bar ko ma kare chone no mo ngi dong do be December 13 teng genocide wal tunni mo an ko ni go ara manu me ranya bad wijo ko long man lo gor lo economy ko lo politika man chene agini no chani ke pere na de example mo chani chana to
kanyon mana be page mo prelet ne mana era page mo answer mare to ne ye bar ba para ne jora ne shek ka kure matot teng machani kanyon tundi mo tago be genocide ne ngej ba jami mo na muto before genocide bungi matot machana ka pare man chana ka pare nak ma hoji ne ya juli gone na kuma be de ya ka bet kine gene ngomanywa man chana ka pare kuma jo mana nak ye gona anywa kita nyimble ni le mo ne kel mo kel north bet kel Somalia ka dunya ne dunya Ethiopia anywe mo nak bet mo kenin nuto ba focus maro de juberena be genocide ba genocide no na wa be impact matie mana de ko lord gor lon man ko na ubure motot ka kor mana nak jowi jana ko ne jowariyo ot gora tuna balai ko reje ne ajine beji po chala kunje ot gor mada jana ma jowi chi e bongo pamana kere jo changa ka puchala jo ya South Sudan genate keme moiteng jegorom ka mapiji Kenya keme moan ye kore Uganda keme moan ye ba wodi mo bene chadio ubure ke bogoro nyota go man ko na gap da me chwa to ka tege kore ke chwiri mo atuno follow up ka pare ko chwiri mo kene ji moanak gebere no kurgi chara ko gori akuma changu work project mo kona jibe chonka shene kiten mandare no kitge mandare kore od godi chujigi pidi chujigi ba ka teng ma chan Mrs. Jela dite mani chebe jo mor ma daga ji kurgi ne ngom mona megena ye ne pur ji moina kona investor so rimana gona na nyubure gede danga yo wala me ke we gede danga kurgi joye kita kan od gora tuna balai so impact matie no ro od gor be manager na ma podo ko loche ni teng ko lo economy lon man ko na
teng destruction matago bare ka para anywen na mora economy mora be farming dano ne ko pena family mare e chipping be na mu pudo da jire mo duang o tek no to kago ko bure mwe no duji ko gorjo abang pur dijito ke cham ko tek bere na cham no to ye kago ba kay to ne genocide to go pura to na balai ka parngo ji mo ne gina je pur ke didi keren be ji mo chang ko na gina shipte nyota go kan na magini gupuro tapanya kan ogeno piji de gi ageno te jeriya kwarena atune beto bare na maranywana especially joy na gina farmers and be bog bare jan nyota go unang machay pur balan ya parngo be bog bare o tigrewo bengwe kware ji atune chambunga ma modupuro ma shet ma de chamji therefore economy mana marpach ne ji chamana margi tijike chingi atuna ne chamana mar purgi puro bo jurgi kore jo atuna je ana bangale nyota go chama tuna ngewa bangale abaya tuna ngewa bangale kana any girpen yak madama nya kapar chamar beta maro dana atuna ngewa bangale kapar ngo jo atuna je bo puro family atuna bolan kaman munyi dana ka sustain kanyon mani chene be impact ma tie do ke law economy en kware tawkel dag man je dang kurgi en ke kure moto de jami mo muti je Ethiopia ma jema bu chana ka perge ba amunya ka document e bug man ka par ne kwan ji mo na kwan nga je ma mar de nyegele kayo nak mo chamo shet ge koyak no uni o mal kan o daw kun kan mo pu bungin mo puro ye ba cham no to pot karka jele no ko gene ge piemo agina no tej ge du pudo go tore ko re jey cham yabe maya to ne na boy ne ba kaji agina no teji aboy de wait pot so mane cha to teng loy ne de lord de mayen kura na ma nyaay ge no puro ge aboy mo na mo le shet ne karka de wait pot ko re ne je dagge ko ra ba cham no wa jey kare ko re je dag so mane che be impact mana rajo ne tego December 13 ka after December 13 re-economy mana maranywe kanyante kalau politika no apa politician man ba politics manut karkacha kanyona tune jim manak magada kwanya kateng man ngago ne jim ne wijur digi karano wape na kony mar wijur do ko bange koy gini gina tuna gitiyo tira kwa nyota go gino tiya kwa netigi be mano tigi ne power mada jigi madana chana o piem gepe mamara kwa mada chana mane che bunga nyota go jo tuna nyeng jo law na pa law wankere jo tuna na power bunga kwa reno jurman no kyo gen kanyan be ka tuene na power madwang ena chere nyota go be ngara ndak mo channo ngara ndak mo piemo ngara mo tomba ona nywe e piema no pieme go ne betwe wala no pieme bongere mo tege deri so ke lone de law politics en kanyon jo power atuna bungo chenga nywe nyota go be lwar ka eshi yak man jijja mo chan ginti jechegi anywe kalwo kan gidakan ngom moy chipje investor moy chipje Saudi Arabia ngom moy chipje je karature ngom moy chipje joy ko margi jigge ya ko be damage ma tie jena law politics ya jaka bina chapo berdo tira ina poga per mulsimari no giya wolo kwa na moyo ke digi ke ngwen kerki ne ngati man digi ka chela chelu ci wajje pidu da mu tot ba giwol pour pepe be pit ma to ponga ma nek ma o ja de pit mo bay ma ngudi mene ta chel kerno ci wajje e per giwol jeni jana nature maru dano ka no mudigin mo bo wal ita keje wal dere ene gin mo to yak man ñu bang dana moro ni gini ci triya ngata ja ko kure mo to dana man du riw ko ginani tin do ba wal bangu dana ba keto jini ten jami mo tri ron letten birike to gi ci motor ye de ge ga ciel
Ya, ka diri mon che ke jira lañ man tone chengo utone no to ye ka korma tone oni ono boto ka sabel par adima man jon batte ken kay oni ne kito tier ter Ethiopia no okar penyo ka gone karkaja the man man mo man Ethiopia the economical and political and empowered you kamana te rai le salaze warke ka lagli mo wakal karkaja mo ken okar penyo ni yido ba meta go to bangir muti ro to ji oni ga permane red gini dar gini wo kwari mo na mo ka nye mo na mo ko ni ko mo mana go raj dalo na mo wiyu no ngul ngada benni bare di doy kari ba to ni jot kono be man to ne kay mori i chala mi no to sela ota tawa wara me iraq kay ranji gar ka jan o wiener ne kali wo kel di jen stability bon ye the same thing mana tawa to ten Somalia kay to kay mor kwara margini uranyo be ijo mana dong anywa to ijo mana ranji ko na ranji ko ngomare kwari mo na mo ko mo mana mo margini arain dergi karkaje dongo no dongini atuna kay moro ngatu manyine ne kit kaje be manya ngata man jurdi bapa ngata manya nywa la nywa ne tenye kore di chenno ke barman mu ko boloin ke man ko jo ke ne gina dati o ben ke par ngedo mi ato ko lo cheni ke par ke mo lan jire ke ti bongo so manager no kay mor tuna be manu ko ne chengon to ye ki jo ma ke par duna ma wono ko ne ko ri mo wonde o do to ne ye chel jo ko yar ke dol mara kay moro ginti ke ba do lañ ba ka par man ma kay mor ona ko kiti tir tim do to akko mo rañu ko no kero kelle mo kel gar kaja pa jure do be nywa ke dedi no kan lañ wa ma ne gojini miri ka rañu gar kaja ko tir ñu marano a o ko kor kaja ni kel di chenno o ko tun recover kore ni mane chen kore man nyotoro na be ngati aje mo gone wala giu gone awo ko kor reñu marano no pi bato ba yido me ko gone bung dana mi yeme gone ba tien nature wala problem anu mulu kula kalba to ko kore ke jira be gene chen
Well, in a polo mutin man ba pini ye check thank you da pin man po da ba be pin man da na ba mon ba tang population wal kwan wi juro ki ko mara ko ka ya amanya ne ko no gnu ne boga kwat bate ya tang ki ko mara ko ka action prelet ke para location mar resource ijo man chogo ganne ka patch wal ke kan bore ber ko ne ko na mala ne kan mun teng jami chala mo gene o ko nyum ijo man chogo gan ke ko non ke ka chela
okay kitira de population maro kar ko na kare estimate man ni ditana teng lo de lo sa sudan no jude bugu mutay tay ne jowo ko number mara nywa bore Ethiopia South Sudan be kumi mutife daw manago tike 1935 ba be putiyo duri na ba ni muji bano umar kari kala ba gidangate population ki politic play important role ke per resources juke jorogo ko reso di parliament o wi jorogo ko no for example ada pat muji de kumi mupiro biyo part mara pamaya jere kumi par ujini mo ger para ko ni jere ko piri bijena lo ki ni jiri mo pur ka lo ki ujini mo pur ka o pati fi kan ni je gira ngata je kumi par keriet e pri jobe to kinno i politique na ki chel ko nyagi jure ki gor ni ngi ya mo ni bango number ne amal ba nyagi ji gor mo ba ngara mo ju gor ji mo juro number no kiti ginati o kiti data system utuno no bujulu moga mugi kimal kwara no resources to utuno juda mono ba muy de nature mar politique dire kaw to tuje de kaw judu ki mo to ba ki ko nyaki anyaki ba kwan be rewo to anyaki ba kwan be rewo to jo mo kena gi yo kan gina for example te kan bele no unu bere kan bele no ne warade mo anak mo to je mo anak mo ne je bungo mo do wala da mo jigina do ko mara ciel
do woni ko ni ko pen
wobe do wona la mara na ciel na wala de moy na mo nywa beden de kal ga number ko kala ka manago be nona eno isi system mana go ko ikiar kambena ni toten mo ko be nywaki umano tu no chiu to man pote nywaki go ko me mo ni state level mar kambela no toten mo reje be kor ke mano go ni wara da kiel number maro wa mal ni wara de mo go jobet en no to no chiri power sharing to mo gi den mo nywaki so no manya wono jidu tek manya go number na ti ni kitu mal kena pano kwanto ya ton anu warga nyu jidu gi bere kor
kel ki jidu ko lere to manya ne meri bar man jidu ko lere ne do ngora to manya ne meri bar man ko ko ken dum dal ya ye check te ka chelo youth belike ni gino mo gumdel ke pernet ni kan mon contribution marge chipi chi woto ga per pe maru jur
e wane yeshe ka karmo
man ngani
thank pachana loj man ko na youth ke karmo ko opportunity especially tenga ko ma karere ko ka per jimo kare chot lere se teng ya ko kanyan be jimo no didi ke ne gubira circle yota ngari no ga kan ngete kita kan ngari no ga kan ngete kita kan kore be jito mo dongo no mo ka charo la ne bungu witgi but I mo na youth kare ne gina fresh na ideas da jige ne gino goro no wape kore ke karmo ko opportunities so opportunities bungu mo chi with the youth tenga ke kain to ke diaspora kanwan most activity subere na benje donga kedi na ma ko na youth adi kanya na kanwan bung youth metot ka parnga jami mu munyi ka organize mostly youth kermu nya consider dodge ko ji mu to be ji mo donga wala waru donga ka wala nyaro donga ka bugin manga ka pare ko o ga par dere jon ko para do so nyota go youth ge kermu nya ka involve in community ne pan mana marge ne ti ba kanwan ne mu rana de jay matantan maranga ranga but we need more mana youth ne mu nya ka involve community mana attention ma duang to nekit youth kanwan
ira ko je ka piye ni chan wa sara ya ulure manya ke uro den ko na no ne ulure ne ko per wang chang man mon de jawra ya pimana ngudi na bang sar kot ya man be pimana ngudi je ke jo man bero na na nyai go maro ke jure ma o na jo mo motir wal betir ma ko ni le pinan
ka ba chano o yana jo mo betir ke perno ke per jame dalo mai kwinyone pek go mo bolon ke man gawo ke jure ke kene ke per japa go nang mai olwa bota tan ke man gawo ke kene korno karate man bere panyi cheno nang me pajam maro koro upaju di chwolo ne be mara kare tie moyen ka che be mo koro no kany mar odu tu no gawo ke gal metin ke jilo ne dunuren zero jera o ga be ke kene ke per paj mara acham ge
ber man je be ke paje chana no pa ke per itu di jami manya gino wori ne counseling ke ngone poreje baka wo kan ke per mara wal gumdel no jitu gumdel man gawo ko jomma po ber ni diwani o do ni te ki jure mara do to ko
kanyen no gumdel mara ke per ne o gawo ke jure mara be korot jok te ke per ne o to no gawo ke gene be korot jok ke per wana wele ke kany kore ke wat jok ka bung wele ke goni do bero no jok mara o mana tek kay maro do gawo ke jure to ke korot jok be jak kany mari gawo ke karti mari wote
ya chara wo channo ki jo ma ne ro ne punyo man tu no gawo jure ke peron don yiti digi pe mu kala kala to ko jo ma per papa ya bata manya dum mo te ne ti ni no gawo ke ni ke ya ne uni no po pi mo mon de na dara maya chana bon maya dara mayo chung chana ba maya ki jo ma ni chi pin yo kan ba ke ko cha ka lai be jini pin la na rio ko ba ge ya uni wona poch ke per cha mo chipu do ko beru ko ni de ki ka chelo announcement bear wape kan mun po je ka de gin mu tane ja ni jamin man ne ma kan mun ko ka chini
Yeah, I don't know book when you bore da my book ma munya publish kind of channel no da. I want to pin ma didi kan be ke ya gore book kan be book man. Teng atau ujaga di channel ko per lumot gor pi ba nyane di 1940s to 1950s project makal dan maklor wong ne pi ngoma ne pi deep in Ethiopia utawa kango utawa loe kan man jami matota munyo ke explain ye maya to genocide to ke jami mo achara kanya didi matota munyo ka explain ye kanya gine ne to kor genocide December 13 2003 ke pade jami matota mo chang to kan man to jomo to we ne kwan na to ta mo to ne December 13 ulo tago ba bungji maton mo chana ka pare
bear uni no una po to kera ke per chamo awang ngawene di changa chel no chamo pe ko pe tame mo kunyu go ni chai mo chukucho una wa bear do koru no ya ngade
Just 1 minute. The expansion of the New Kingdom. Julu Budigi, Bookman Kamamui, Powerful Corrective Matthew, Book Achagati, Ricky Matan Marilla, to put a company Mogoro in Banaman, the Buddha Moji distribute, the permanent condition. Corona, Bell, Chilton, need information, Japanese Manarona, and then you walk. Cora Jimmy again, Cora Book and now, a multiple water, Mani e-book. Kemana de kon nyamba belum piramon kabingan panganengan bejeng berita kagri piramon kabingan cara go $4 ebook pemain walk kata kipri piria bicara so aku kipri nemu jadi segi kurmuto kipri jadi je mengelabo the message money bukan naje nade magi moto be intention marah gitu kamu cara nawak cara kan bagi moto Betul yang dengan cara didikan cara berujuk membuka teman ilmu kanyan gabung yang digelar kalau begitu tim yang berbangun ngomong itu betul mana jadi mesti banyak waktu jual ber mulai mana challenge cuma wujud itu final jangan bikin wujud apa lagi gue enam pingin pemain kiri waktu malu la bangkare ini yang baik lebih jelas Excel wala kacau Sore pemain ini juga pari pemain ini timnya ini lihat nyala pari lihat jili gue kalau bukan Ethiopia kalau bukan South Sudan tanya ni gaya tanya yang lebih baik please contact me thank you.
Alright. Bé kia trẻ mua lấy online nó cũng có bé và anh nó kia rau quan hệ phe còn phe rau quan nó pida muốn gì họ cả chứ đó là mang cái chứ pida muốn gì họ cả chứ đó cái gì đó là được không còn là phụ là pa còn cái yeah. So we have reached almost the end of our program. The third section will start after dinner, and so please, the dinner rooms over there. We will start with gentlemen, and then our young ladies will continue and follow them. Qua nó như là nó trong nó và nó có được trong lý nó thì mà nó có một tarik yang bagi kalau experience bagi mungkin mau share kemudian mau welcome kalian gogi kepada Canggih. While we are eating or after we are done eating, we are going to invite certain individuals who will share their personal experience with us, and I'm going to monitor the time closely, so don't get that is our request to you. Thank you.
Cholaru luto na ito dogi. Dote ke yago ne pa lanya na to konke lanya.
Ya ji muin rain kia ne live show man ngol ke perkan mutin ne jawai ku kit git dog ke teng man rangu ke no anwa wo ke number mut bangloch wang chei jamora jo nyota gwani lumto man ukino do kere ke per man no kamo jo la ke kit dog jo do ane to chao ke ni live mar to kil kayo live uno puah live show mana kau tanya December 13 ini mana jo ke percaya program manudung experience sharing bicara menjamin mau ada grupo do dia tapi mau aku don kita tadi bono ini apa nyo pure no grupo kawa program ya ini juga gua ini tahu ngepel Desember tadi no, il calcio tu vale? 4